A human child's kindness to a lonely alien triggered 500 elite warriors. The planet Tyranno looked peaceful from a distance. Wide red deserts stretched under a pale alien sun. Soft winds moved the sand like waves on an ocean. Nothing about the land suggested danger. But peace can be fragile. Commander Michael Clark stood among alien elders near the settlement gates. His face was calm, but his mind stayed alert. Humans had learned the hard way that first contact could turn violent without warning. Still, today felt different. No weapons were drawn. No angry voices. Only careful words about trade, borders, and cooperation. Behind him, his son James slowly lost interest. At 7 years old, long talks meant nothing. James watched the sand drift between his shoes. He looked at the strange, blue-skinned aliens and their long tails. They looked strong. They looked serious. And they looked very busy. James took a few steps away. No one noticed. Near the edge of the settlement, alien children played in the sand using bright stones. They laughed in a language James could not understand. But one child was not playing. A small alien girl sat alone. She was smaller than the others. Her white hair was braided neatly. Her bright blue eyes followed the group, but no one looked back at her. Her tail curled tightly around her legs like she was trying to disappear. James stopped. He knew that feeling. He had felt it on new planets, new schools, new ships. Slowly he walked toward her. The other alien children went silent. One hissed loudly. Another made a sharp hand sign across the throat. James did not understand the meaning, but he felt it was a warning. He kept walking. "Hello," James said softly, kneeling in front of the girl. "I'm James." The girl flinched but did not run. She nodded once. She understood him. James reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal ship, a human starship model. It was scratched and old, but to James it was priceless. His mother had given it to him before she died. He held it out. "You can have this," he said. "We don't have to be alone." The girl stared at the ship. Then she looked into James' eyes. Slowly, carefully, she took it. "Elia," she whispered. "My name is Elia." She smiled. At that exact moment, the alien elders stopped speaking. One of them whispered in fear. Far across the desert, hidden eyes were already watching. That night, messengers ran through the red sands without rest. By dawn, 500 warriors would march toward the settlement. And all because a human child chose kindness. When the desert began to move, the desert woke before the sun. Low, deep sounds rolled across the red sands of Tyranno, slow and steady. At first, the settlement guards thought it was thunder, but there were no clouds in the sky. Then the ground began to vibrate. Commander Michael Clark stepped outside his quarters, alert instantly. His training told him this was not nature. This was movement, organized, heavy. "Report," he said calmly, though his hand hovered near his sidearm. A Terranean guard pointed toward the horizon. Dark shapes appeared against the pale morning light. At first they looked like shadows. Then banners became visible, tall figures, perfect lines. Michael's breath slowed. They were warriors. Hundreds of them. At least 500 marched forward in silence, their armor catching the early sun. Spears rested on their shoulders. Blades hung ready at their sides. They did not rush. They did not shout. That made it worse. Inside the settlement, fear spread fast. Doors closed. Elders whispered. Some Terraneans dropped to their knees in panic. Lieutenant Parker joined Michael. "Sir, they're armed, but this isn't an attack formation." Michael nodded, "which means they're here for judgment." Behind him, James ran up, eyes wide. "Dad, what's happening?" Michael knelt and placed his hands on his son's shoulders. "Stay close. Whatever happens, don't move unless I tell you." James nodded, trying to be brave. The warriors stopped exactly at the settlement boundary. The sound of marching ended at once, like a switch turned off. From the center of their ranks, one figure stepped forward. He was taller than the rest. His blue skin was darker, marked with white symbols. Feathers crowned his head like a living crown. Chief Torin. The settlement elders lowered their heads. Even they looked afraid. Michael did not move. The chief spoke in a deep, powerful voice. The air seemed to listen. The translator stepped forward, hands shaking. "The great chief asks to see the human child," the translator said, "the one who showed kindness to the outcast." All eyes turned to James. James felt his heart race. He looked up at his father. "Did I do something wrong?" Michael swallowed. "No, son, you did something honest." Before anyone could stop her, a small figure ran forward from the settlement. Elia. She held the small human starship tightly in her hands. She reached her father and spoke quickly, her voice full of emotion. The chief listened. Then slowly, something changed in his eyes. The warriors lowered their weapons. And the desert, for the first time that morning, felt quiet again. But this was not the end. This was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. The enemy who watched in silence. Peace did not last. After the warriors withdrew, the settlement tried to breathe again. Fires were lit. Guards stayed alert. Humans and Terranians stood side by side, watching the dark desert beyond the lights. Commander Michael Clark felt it in his bones. Something was wrong. Enemies rarely showed themselves so clearly. Real danger waited, watched, learned. High above the planet, hidden beyond the clouds, a black ship drifted without sound. Its surface absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Inside, tall figures with cold eyes studied the settlement below. The Tex raiders had found a prize. They saw humans. They saw alien tribes divided by old hatred. They saw children. And weakness. "Prepare the strike," one of them said in a harsh mechanical voice. "Take knowledge, take bodies, leave nothing united." Back on the ground, James sat near Elia, drawing shapes in the sand. He showed her pictures of stars and ships. She listened closely, holding the small toy starship like it was alive. For the first time in her life, she was not alone. That was when the sky screamed. A sharp sound cut through the air. The light above the settlement shattered as a black shape dropped from the clouds. Energy beams struck the ground, throwing sand and fire in every direction. People ran. Guards shouted. Michael turned just in time to see buildings explode near the central hall. "Raiders," Lieutenant Parker yelled. "Hostiles inside the settlement." Alien and human defenders rushed forward, firing together. The enemy moved fast, too fast. Their armor absorbed most attacks. They moved with training, not chaos. This was no simple raid. James felt a strong hand grab him. "Inside." "Now," a guard shouted, pushing the children toward the learning dome. Elia clutched James' arm, fear in her eyes. Michael fought his way through smoke and fire, searching for his son. His heart pounded louder than the weapons. Then he saw it. Alien elders dragged away by dark figures, bound, bleeding. Taken alive. The black ship rose again, engines screaming as it pulled away from the burning settlement. The remaining raiders vanished as quickly as they came. Silence followed, broken only by fire and crying. Michael found James inside the dome, shaken but unharmed. He pulled his son close, holding him tightly. This was not a random attack. This was planned. And whoever planned it had just made a terrible mistake. Because they had not just attacked a settlement. They had threatened human children. And the galaxy would soon learn what that truly meant. What the ground tried to hide. The settlement was quiet but not peaceful. Smoke still drifted through the air. Burned metal smelled sharp and bitter. Guards moved slowly, watching the dark sky as if it might attack again. Inside the learning dome, the children sat close together. No one spoke. James held Elia's hand. She did not let go. Commander Michael Clark stood outside, listening to reports. Elders were taken. Raiders escaped. The enemy knew exactly what they wanted. That scared him more than the attack. Inside the dome, a low hum filled the room. The floor beneath the central teaching stone vibrated, almost like it was breathing. James felt it first. "Do you feel that?" he whispered. Elia nodded. Her eyes were wide, not with fear, but with recognition. She pulled James closer to the stone pedestal used by the teachers. When James leaned against it, the stone shifted. The floor cracked open with a soft grinding sound. Everyone froze. From beneath the stone, a flat slab of dark blue rock slowly rose. Strange symbols glowed across its surface, older than the settlement, older than the tribes. Elia gasped. "I can read this," she said softly. The adults rushed inside. Michael pushed through the crowd, his heart pounding when he saw the open floor. "What is that?" he asked. Elia placed her hand on the stone. The symbols brightened. "It is a truth stone," she said, "from before the tribes split." An elder whispered in shock, "That cannot be real." Elia shook her head. "It is real. It speaks of the shield of the ancestors." Silence filled the room. The shield was a legend, a story told to children, a defense system said to protect the planet from invaders. "Where is it?" Michael asked. Elia traced the glowing lines. "In the burning canyons, where the ground shows who you truly are." Michael felt a cold weight settle in his chest. The burning canyons were deadly. Even warriors avoided them. James looked up at his father. His voice was small but steady. "They took people, Dad. We can't just wait." Michael met his son's eyes. In that moment he saw no fear, only resolve. Outside, the night wind howled across the desert. The enemy believed the settlement was broken. They were wrong, because buried beneath the sand was something ancient. And it had just been found by a human child and a lonely alien girl. The place that breaks the mind. The burning canyons did not look alive. But they were. At sunrise, the rescue team stood at the canyon's edge. Red stone walls rose high on both sides, sharp and twisted like broken teeth. Heat moved through the air even in the early morning, bending the light. Commander Michael Clark checked his gear in silence. Around him stood humans and Terranaean warriors together. No one joked. No one smiled. Everyone knew the truth. People entered the canyons. Many did not come back the same. "This place does not kill the body first," the Terranaean guide warned. "It attacks the mind." James adjusted his breathing mask. His hands shook slightly, but he stayed quiet. Beside him, Elia looked calm, too calm. She closed her eyes. "It remembers us," she whispered. "The ground remembers." They moved forward. At first nothing happened, only heat, only silence. Then the air changed. Colors became brighter, sounds felt louder. The stone walls seemed closer than before. Michael felt his heart beat faster for no reason. Images filled his mind. A burning ship. His wife's voice calling his name. James crying alone. Michael stumbled. A strong hand grabbed his arm. He looked up and saw Nara, the Terranaean warrior. Her eyes were sharp, focused. She was affected too, but she did not break. "Do not fight it," she said calmly. "The canyon feeds on fear. Stand in truth." James stopped walking. "I hear them," he said softly. Michael rushed to him. "Who do you hear?" "The ones who lied," James replied. "They don't want us here." Elia stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly blue. "The shield is close," she said. "The canyons are trying to stop us because the truth is dangerous." The ground trembled. From the cliffs above, dark shapes moved. "Enemy scouts." "They followed us," Lieutenant Parker said, raising her weapon. Michael looked around. The canyon narrowed ahead. Retreat was impossible. "Then we don't retreat," he said firmly. "We move forward." Weapons were raised, hearts pounded. As the first enemy figures appeared through the heat haze, the canyon roared like a living thing. The burning canyons had chosen a side, and for the first time in centuries, they were standing with humans. The moment humans do not break. The canyon shook as the first enemy shot hit the rock wall. Dust exploded into the air, stone cracked, heat and noise filled the narrow path. The Tex Raiders attacked without warning. They moved fast and without fear, their black armor shining like oil in the sun. Energy weapons burned the ground where they struck. Any normal force would have panicked. Humans did not. "Hold the line," Commander Michael Clark ordered calmly. Human soldiers dropped into position instantly. They did not scream. They did not rush. They moved with purpose. Every shot counted. Every step was planned. The Terranaean warriors watched in surprise. The Tex Raiders expected chaos. They found discipline. Jaime and Elia were pulled behind a large stone ridge. Michael glanced back once, just to make sure his son was safe. Jaime met his eyes and nodded. No fear. Only trust. The canyon air grew heavier. The strange energy of the place pressed down on everyone's mind. Some Terranaean warriors faltered, clutching their heads as memories and fear attacked them. Humans stayed standing. Their past was already full of pain. The canyon had nothing new to show them. The enemy leader stepped forward, tall and sharp, his voice cold and cruel. "Humans are fragile," he said. "You break easily." Michael stepped forward, weapon lowered. "You're wrong," he said simply. "We bend, we adapt, and when it matters, we endure." Behind him, Elia placed the ancient tablet into a stone slot hidden in the canyon wall. The ground screamed. Light burst from the rock, blue and bright, flowing like fire through the canyon veins. The enemy weapons flickered. Their armor sparked. The shield of the ancestors was waking up. The Tex Raiders panicked for the first time. Their technology failed. Their advantage vanished. Human soldiers moved in. Not with rage. Not with hate. But with certainty. The enemy line collapsed. The leader tried to escape, but the canyon itself turned against him. Stones shifted. Paths closed. The shield showed truth, and the truth was clear. They had underestimated humans. As silence returned, the canyon stopped shaking. The light faded. Michael walked to Jaime and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did good," he said. Jaime looked up. "We all did." Far away, the enemy fleet went dark. And across the stars, a warning quietly spread. Do not mistake human calm for weakness. Why the galaxy learned the truth about humans. The desert was silent again. Where fire and fear once ruled, only wind moved across the red sand. Broken enemy machines lay half-buried, dark and lifeless. The burning canyon stood calm, as if they had finished their task. Commander Michael Clark stood at the edge of the ridge, watching the sun rise. His shoulder ached. His body was tired, but his mind was clear. They had survived. Not because they were stronger. Not because they had better weapons. But because they stood together. Behind him, Terranaean warriors gathered with human soldiers. There was no distance between them now. No fear. No old hatred. They spoke quietly, shared water, helped the wounded. The shield had done more than stop the enemy. It had shown the truth. The enemy had divided the tribes long ago. They fed lies. They turned brother against brother. For centuries, the Terranaeans fought each other, never knowing why. Until now. Near the center of the camp, Jaime sat beside Elia, both watching the adults talk. Elia still held the small human starship, the toy that started everything. Jaime looked up at his father. "Dad, is it over?" Michael knelt beside him and smiled softly. This part is. Elia touched the ground with her fingers. The planet remembers today, she said. It will not forget. Later that day, the tribes met as one for the first time in generations. No weapons, no guards, only voices and truth. An alliance was formed. Not forced. Not feared. Chosen. Humans were invited to stay, to teach, to learn, to protect together. Michael accepted a long-term post without hesitation. Not just for duty, but for hope. As night fell, fires lit the settlement. Music filled the air. Children ran freely across the sand, laughing in two languages. Jaime and Elia chased each other beneath the stars. A Terranean warrior stood beside Michael, watching the scene. "Your people are strange," she said calmly. "You bring children where others bring warships." Michael nodded. "That's why we survive." Far beyond the planet, enemy systems recorded the battle's outcome. Reports were sent. Warnings were issued. A simple message echoed across hidden channels. Humans do not conquer worlds. They protect what they love. And any force that stands in the way of that will not survive. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more amazing videos.